next real quick.
Okay. While you're getting yourself situated, I'm going to start the broadcast. And this is A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie, episode 14. My name is Bruce, and my co host tonight is, of course, always the lovely Janet from another planet.
Hello.
Janet starts her computer up and she blows in the cartridge like it's a NES machine. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good.
A little weird, but I'm fine.
Fantastic. I understand you took a little bit of a holiday in one of the big parks in Texas, up in Arlington, the Texas over Six Flags over Texas.
Yeah, Six Flags over Texas. I spent most of the whole day there. I was there when it opened, and I just got home about an hour ago. And it was hot all day long. I drank and drank and drank. But I rode as many rides as I could squeeze in. It was fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of enjoying parks like that, and I haven't been to one in over 20 years, mainly for the fact that I was really busy. I mean, I have money to do it. I could do it if I want to. I haven't done it because I've just been busy. And
you got time.
Yeah, I got to set some time aside because I'm a big fan of roller coasters. If you ever get my Google, password, first off, destroy it. Secondly, I've got a lot of roller coasters that I like, and anything and everything by Rocky Mountain Construction. They are roller coaster connoisseurs, and they love roller coasters and make it to where they can be loved again. Like they took the Texas Giant and they retracked it so you have a real smooth experience now. They did the same thing to the Rattler and turned that into Iron Rattler here. They just go around and they fix roller coasters that are wooden coasters, and they throw on this amazing iron track, and they can do inversions with them. So next time you want to do that, swing on down into my neighborhood and try out the Iron Rattler, because it's not what it was back about 20 years ago. It's not the same ride. That there's a tort lawyer that greets you when you get off the train, and he's like, "Are you injured? How do you feel? Does your back feel tight? Let's go to my office and get you a medical certification. I need to get you $1 million." They do that. But no, the Rocky Mountain Construction or Rocky Mountain Coasters is, like, in my opinion, the greatest roller coaster company out there, because everybody else that makes coasters, they make brand new coasters. These guys determine what coasters are in good enough shape to where they can handle another 20 or 30 years of service. Actually, none of their tracks have been retired. And they've only had a few accidents here and there, but that's really not on them. That's on the maintenance that's supposed to work on these roller coasters every morning before they open the tracks, before they open up to the public. And that was El Toro up in New Jersey. They had an accident last year with a few injuries, but no fatalities. Okay, I'll just say that. And that was before they started their new patent design iBox track, which is what you experienced on the Texas Giant today. Didn't mean to rattle. Okay. Do I still have an audience? Are we still okay? We're still here. I'm like, wait, Janet went totally silent. What happened? Hello? Okay. So, aside from me loving roller coasters, I'm going to talk about this movie with Janet tonight, and it's called The Cowboy Way. Janet, that's weird. I'm still on the web. Looks like Janet's having technical difficulties. And while she's getting herself reconnected back, I might be having technical difficulties, but I can't tell. Yeah, the leads for that movie are fantastic. this was kind of at the start of Woody Harrelson's movie career. The only movie I saw him in before this was White Men Can't Jump, and I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it. Janet, if you can hear me, please just use that link and come on back. It appears that I'm having no problems on the web right now. Okay, but this movie came out in '94, and it did not really get. She's back. I can hear her.
Here I am. Sorry.
It's all right.
What happened? I just got disconnected.
It happens. This movie, I'm not seeing that it made like millions upon millions of dollars. This movie barely made anything until it hit the rental market in '94, 495.
Yeah, it did really bad from what I could find on the internet at the box office. It really sucked.
And that's kind of weird because this came out at a time where Kiefer Sutherland was still kind of riding on that juice from the Lost Boys.
Yeah. He was him and Woody were like up and comers.
Yeah. This is 1994.
Yeah, so they were just starting to get their, their acting legs under them to where they were starting to draw more people to the box office. And I thought they thought, or they felt, it seemed like they felt that this combination would draw people in just because of who they were. And they didn't really focus too much on the story that they were putting them together in.
No, they didn't
More
seem to.
as much as they should have if they wanted to make it a box office, success. But I didn't realize that when I first watched it because for some reason, I guess it worked on my part as a young person that was into these two actors, apparently. Because when I watched it the first time when I was younger, it seemed like a really funny and action-packed movie. But then when I watched it this time, it wasn't. There was a couple funny scenes that I thought was funny, but it wasn't the draw that I was like. I was just shocked at how many things I found wrong with it.
Yeah, and I hate to say that, but whenever you are 19 and then you blink and you turn 47, or for you whatever age you may be, because I'm not going to ever wonder what that is. I'm just going to say that time flies and your perceptions change, and this movie really hit me in a way that I was not expecting because I was expecting to have some dumb popcorn munch movie and just enjoy it from start to finish.
Me
And
too.
the start of it, like the start of it, where it shows the reel to reel, and they're being little kids rodeo all their way, through high school. That was kind of cool. But then the relationship between the two leads, the way Pepper gets treated by Sonny, the way that Kiefer treats Woody Harrelson in this movie is really just like he's almost like a father figure, not really so much of a best friend or brother. He acts more like a dad.
Yeah, I didn't really feel that way. I felt it was more like one grew up and the other one was still living in his high school years.
Yes.
As you can tell, when the movie went on, Pepper kept handing him everything because he couldn't read, basically.
Yep.
This was one who didn't go to school, finish school, or learn anything from school, basically. And I think that was one of the reasons why I liked it so much when I was young, because I had a lot of friends that in the South that never finished school, and they worked in the logging industry or they worked on farms or different things like that. So I could understand that character. And I was also, like I told you, I was in a little bit into the rodeo thing. I didn't become a rodeo queen or anything like that, but I rode barrel racing.
Okay.
Uh, and I hung out with lots of goat ropers. That's what we called them. And I was never, that's like I told you, I said I was not going to date a goat roper. I didn't want an Okie from Muskogee. So I just didn't date. And then when my mom was really worried about me, she signed me up for modeling school and stuff like that because she wanted me to learn how to dress like a lady and act like a lady. And because she was worried that I was not. And then when I still didn't date that much, she was asked me if I was one of those ladies that liked other ladies when I was in 11th grade. And I said, no, Mom, I like boys, but I don't want these boys because I didn't want to end up like half my friends, have a baby, or two before I even graduated from high school. I just didn't, that wasn't what I was looking for in my life. I wanted, I didn't want to end up there. I didn't want to end up like all these other girls. I wanted to be able to do something with my life, go places, see things. And I knew
Yeah.
I couldn't if I had a kid. So I just stayed away. I stayed out of it. But
And
I
I
could
can,
see where that was at because all my guy friends, they've been gored by bulls you know, and it was exciting to go watch and you're biting your fingernails down to nubs, watching your friends out there getting thrown off. And then your other half of your for guy friends that couldn't ride a bull for 8 seconds, they were the ones that were the rodeo clowns or the ones that, set up the rodeo or worked the rodeo. So
yeah,
that was
that's that
fun.
culture.
Yeah.
And there was another movie that came out about the same time called 8 Seconds with Luke Perry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
There
I
was a
actually
lot
think,
that came out, westerns like that.
but I don't remember a whole lot of them because I didn't pay attention to. That wasn't my culture. I didn't grow up in the cowboy culture. Um, and by the time this had started hitting and started hitting the market down where I was at, if you were a cowboy or if you were already into the agriculture, you were already into it. Here I am, 19, I'm a sailor, and I'm not going to change my current prognosis of after this active duty is over. I'm going to go and work on a farm for a while. No, I was already set. I'm going to go get into journalism and get my way into radio because that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and it was um, it was kind of off the radar. But movies like this helped kind of broaden my knowledge. But I didn't think this movie was so accurate about that culture. But I have friends that did roping. I had friends that did the barrel work, and they said this movie kind of hits it with the reel to reel, but it doesn't really show you a whole lot because it has to get the movie going. Within the first 7 minutes, you have to have something to where okay, these guys are ropers, these guys are cowboys, these guys are good with animals. Oh look, Pepper's gonna fuck that married woman, and it's my buddies were like that happens more than what you think. I'm like I already know that, and they're like no 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 no. There's in the culture, like if you don't have a married couple but you have a person that's married in the rodeo or into the stuff, like it's really easy for that person. Everybody else around that woman or man is worshiping or hero worshiping them for their work, and it's just easy for them just to get a piece of strange. I'm like,
Yeah.
I believe it. I completely believe that.
Um, well, it if there was a lot of a lot of rodeo bunnies, whatever you want to call them.
Rodeo bunnies works really well.
Well, it's like snow bunnies, girls that hang out at ski lodges to pick up rich, you know,
Yeah.
guys that hang out at ski lodges. I mean, and the same thing, with Top Guns. You had all the young bimbos hanging out at the Top Gun bars to pick up you know, a Navy
Get them
pilot.
that tricare.
Had the boobies out and whatever else just to get their attention. And
I,
that's just the way it is. You're gonna have meat markets around every one of these places. You know what I mean? Sale barns or whatever you call them. where the girls thinking that they lasso the right guy. What was it? The movie Officer and a Gentleman. Remember that one? That
Yes.
came, and all the girls wanting to get sleep with these pilots and these guys coming out of officers training so they could get pregnant and make the guy marry him and they'd be wives. You see, uh,
Yep.
that was back when all these, uh, I guess, people thought that just because you got pregnant, people were going to marry you. But that I never saw it that way. I mean, I grew up in the South, and I never hardly saw anyone get married because they were pregnant. It was mostly that there were lots of baby mamas and baby daddies out there instead of people getting hooked up or whatever you want to call it, or shotgun weddings or whatever it is that people thought happened. But
Hell, grumpy
uh,
old ninja.
what?
Grumpy old ninja and Small Time Republic came in.
Oh,
Hail.
I can't see anyone in the chat. Every time I try to get on a chat on my phone, it slows down the internet. So I'm just not going to be able to chat with anyone unless you show me on this, because I don't want to ruin our internet connection or risk getting bumped off again.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it was, I mean, honestly, the part where you see the guys all behind the fencing, what's going on in the background around the guys betting with each other, um, all that aspect of the rodeo, and then the people watching, and then what's going on, all seemed very realistic to me. Like they were at a real little small time rodeo where the guys would go from one to another to earn points and to rack in a few bucks. Okay, and to me, all these guys that I knew that did it, they didn't really do it so much for the money. They did it for the excitement and the lifestyle.
Yes.
You see a lot of that on that TV show Yellowstone now. When they were talking about it, they frowned on it. The people from the ranches and stuff frowned on the rodeo lifestyle because people get, pretty much their necks broken, gored up, become crippled basically. And for what?
That,
It's not.
that's.
You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
It's not like you're working for something. You're just doing it for a short amount of glory to make you feel like you're more of a man when you can do that type of stuff every day on a rodeo. I mean, at a ranch, and you're roping and you're culling the cattle here and there, you're shoeing horses or whatever it is, whatever aspect you're doing when you do ranching. It's the same skills that they're using in the rodeo that they show off certain techniques and things like that, but you're actually doing it for a living, to make a
And
living. A
that's
lifestyle isn't like that because you could break your bones and things like that, and you're not really working for a ranch. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
You're just traveling from one place to another. So, but that lifestyle was right, and they had to set that up. That there was like that Pepper and Kiefer's Sutherland's character. What was his name again? Shoot.
Pepper and Sunny.
Sonny, yeah. Sonny had like a falling out, and that's what brought in the friend that that Sonny was living with, so that they wouldn't have to go to the big city to save the daughter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they had to set that up about why the Cowboys were going to New York City in the first place. Nacho or whatever his name was, right?
Nacho.
Yeah, so that was the whole premise of why that all was very believable. But the fact that when they got to New York City and they seemed so easily to drive around, and because I'd been there before, and I was like, that part of it to me was a little hard to believe when I felt the first time, because I have relatives that were from New England, Windham, Connecticut, Salisbury, Massachusetts, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, all up in that area on my father's side of the family. So I only drove through parts of New York City, and I would never want to live there personally. But other people might absolutely love it there, which is fine. If you're in the city life and you like walking in bumper to bumper people, Well, that's good for you, but that isn't my lifestyle. But the fact that they could drive a red pickup truck and pretty much drive anywhere they wanted and park right in front of the Waldorf Astoria, stuff like that, that cracked me up. You know what I mean? But uh, it was still funny. I thought the characters were funny. I thought Woody Harrelson's Pepper was funny in a lot of the aspects of things that he did in the movie. But and I did feel sorry for the girl, but the whole thing was just bizarre. The connection that this guy that supposedly made Nacho pay $5,000, to sneak her in from Cuba, and he was going to take her to New Mexico. Okay, well that was believable, but the fact that this guy picked this one girl out of all the other girls you saw in the sweatshop to get
Yes.
more money from, and he just picked her, the one girl out to be the one he was going to make sell or use as a prostitute or whatever, because we never really find out for sure what he's wanting to do with her. But if
No.
if
He
they
just
had
dragged
changed,
her around.
yeah, it was kind of a psycho, like he was obsessed with her or something, or he wanted her for himself, or they didn't put enough into that part of the story to make it more believable. Because if I was going to write it today, I would make it like a ring where they had like 7 or 8 women that they picked and they were going to use in a brothel, or they were going to uh, sell them as sex slaves, or sex wives or whatever, something like that to make it more believable. But just taking the one girl simply for $5,000, like risking killing, like that one guy when Manny came in there and said, um, when he came in there and said, "You risk all this and killed a guy for $5,000," you know. So I don't
Yeah.
know. This little things like that. This second time when I was getting to watch it this time, years later. I mean, God, it had been at least, I guess, 20 years since I've seen this movie because I just, you know, I don't know. I just hadn't watched it. But seeing it this time, there was just so many gaps in the story to make it. It probably if I saw it today for the first time and hadn't seen it before, I would have said that wasn't a very good movie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But because I did see it back when I did, and I had I don't know what I had, but I thought it was really good. I mean, I just thought it was a very entertaining movie back then. I laughed a lot, especially the scene when they go to the restaurant to eat, the
Yes.
family restaurant,
That's
and
one
the
of
part
those
about,
scenes that. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the part where he said, "Just lop off the horns and wipe its ass and throw it on the plate."
And that's
That
kind
was
of funny.
funny.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because he's a vegan in real life.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's never gonna eat a steak like that ever. Woody Harrelson played a damn good role in this movie, and I believed he was a meat eater like I was when I watched
And
it for the first.
the guy that played the waiter was he stole
Yes.
the scene for me watching it this time. He stole the scene. The way he interacted with Woody
Pepper.
Harrelson's
Yeah.
character. He was so funny to me in that scene. This the way he used his eyes and everything, the way he reacted when he would say certain things about the different. How do you want this and how do you want that? And he was responding. He said, "Okay," like I don't know. It was just I thought it was funny the way the waiter reacted because from a 5-star restaurant, you I don't know. I don't even know if they would even ever really in real life set him at the table. You know what I mean? The way they were dressed, just everything about it was funny. But
Yeah, that was something I kind of wondered about. If they wandered into the Astoria looking like that, would they have been actually seated, or would they have been laughed out?
well, it's kind of funny is because let's see, wasn't very long ago. I guess maybe 5 years. I went to Vegas and we were on Fremont Street, a group of us, and they're all like, "Well, hey, there's a strip bar over here, and it's a, you have to wear a tie when you go in. It's a gentleman's club or whatever they call it." let's go in and check it out. And I was like, well, you got to have a tie. You won't get to go in if it's gentlemen's club. And they're like, what are you saying? I'm like, they'll make you wear a tie. So when they went in, they had ties at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were wearing a t-shirt, they put a tie on you. It was
Wow.
fun, but they were very strict about it. And it's not like a regular strip bar. I've been in a few strip bars in different states, and the lower end ones, it's very rowdy, noisy, a lot of grunting, and just obscene sounds going on. But when you get in
Yeah.
the higher up you go, or the more expensive women, and the fancier places you go, there isn't a lot of noise. It's just a lot of staring. Good music, good looking women, and the guys know exactly what they were interested in. You have different areas and different tables, and just different things that draw different people in. But having them two go in, I'm pretty sure that in the real restaurant they would never have been allowed in. But that was another thing that made it funny. Okay. And then the fact that Woody starts flirting with one of the oboe players. I think she was, I don't remember for sure what instrument she was playing, but
I thought she was
she's
playing
playing.
an oboe. I might
Okay.
be
Yeah.
wrong.
Oh, that's right. But she was dressed very proper for a person to
Conservatively.
be playing an instrument like that in the type of restaurant that she was in. And for her to watch him, and he's cute. I mean, and who wouldn't look at a cowboy that was nice looking? You know what I mean? Even if you're rich, uh, all the women I'm sure were looking at him, and the way he was licking the bottle, and moving his eyebrows up and down and stuff to that girl, and it was just funny. And then he gets his tongue stuck in the bottle, and Sonny pulls it, and it makes that noise when he pulls his
Yes.
tongue out. That whole scene, I was laughing. I couldn't stop but laughing. And then the actress, I'm trying to remember what her name was, the really good looking one from the CIS Las Vegas.
Marg Helgenberger.
Yeah,
Yes.
Marge.
Marge.
Okay,
Okay.
she played Margaret in the movie. But that scene where she came over and she stuck her card in his shirt
Sure.
when she walked by, and then she was with those two weird guys. But that's another thing that popped in my head. This whole thing, this was in the early 90s, 1994. Yeah, 1994, the summer of 1994. And there was lots of gays in this movie. They weren't a
Yeah.
forefront, but they were all dancing around, and it was obvious they were gay. Okay. They were very flamboyant. There was a couple of people grabbing people on the ass and doing types of things that you wouldn't see in today without people throwing a tantrum over it in today's shows or whatever. But nobody seemed to care in 1994 that there were gays in a movie, blatantly gay, and people still would accept that they were gay. So it still cracks me up that how come in 2022 or whatever, everybody hates gays. I don't know. To me, I don't understand how we could come full circle around to where we accept something, and then all of a sudden we don't accept it anymore, simply because one group of people is saying we don't, when our culture was showing that we had no problem with it. So just things like that keep getting thrown back up, and I can't help but notice it today because it's blatantly obvious that it was in movies back then and it was acceptable. I don't know. That just chaps my butt for some reason. I don't know why. I just think it's so stupid when it's thrown in your face on a daily basis today, when we
Yes.
had it blatantly in movies and stuff years ago, and nobody seemed to care about it. And it wasn't a big deal. It was accepted. When the characters fit into the movie, then they should be in the movie. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just thought it was ridiculous, that kind of
Um.
stuff today. But that was funny to me in the movie. And then the fact that they get to see the one Hispanic man as the bodyguard with that one guy that came into the restaurant when they recognized him. So I thought all that was funny. And then they had to sneak out because they didn't pay their tab because he had a check. That whole aspect was funny too. That he had this check that he flashed around that supposedly showed he had money. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But what do you
That part
think
of what I think about what
the scene in the restaurant?
the scene in the restaurant was probably the best part of the movie. I hate to say that, but it probably was the best part of the movie for me because he's playing around with the oboe player and she's giving him the happy eye back. Then Marg is there throwing her shirt down his chest, playing with his nipple or something. And
Yeah.
then she's like, I really liked her character. I really like Marg though as
It also
an
showed how
actress.
women back in 1994 were important in business, high
Yeah.
up in business, made multi-million-dollar deals and things like that in business. So them saying women never had any good characters, there was no women in business, and there was no women doing this and that and the other that was important in older movies until today, this kind of stuff. It's all bullshit. Apparently, people who are involved in politics haven't watched any movies in their lifetime or something. I just think it's stupid. But the scene where that her character is well, I'm gonna go back to the beginning where you see Pepper in that house where he's with that girl and they're playing Chief, Big Chief.
Big Chief.
And she was like the rodeo queen or whatever, blonde, bleach
Yes.
blonde. But that line that he
You
said,
prefer manufactured
that,
blonde.
yeah, they keep the wigwam warm for me. Part where the whole thing I thought was adorable. I was like, geez, what a lucky girl. And I just thought it was hilarious. I just wish more people could have a fun types of relationships where you could do fun stuff like that. But then after the scene was over, when Sunny came in and she's like, "You want to come in?" Because apparently before they're falling out, Sunny would join them in their Big Chief fun because he said that you're a married woman, and she said that never stopped you before.
Yeah.
So that just to me, that all of that little things like that showed to me that the character Sonny had matured and was ready to move on and wanted to, have a life and his own property and a family or whatever else. And Pepper didn't. Pepper just wanted to be a kid forever and have fun, rodeoing, So all of that to me wasn't the part that I had a problem with. It was more of the aspect of when the guy took the girl, chose her out of the group when she got off the boat and said, I'm going to keep her for more money for whatever reason, because he was obsessed with her. The story around that whole character, what was his name? Let me look real quick. Dylan McDermott. Yeah, John Stark in the movie.
Yes, Stark.
Character just seemed like a freaky, sick psycho. You know what I mean? This time when I watched it, because he had no.
He had only
purpose.
one concern.
Yeah, all he wanted was this woman, but they never make it out to why does he want to? Is he in love with her, madly in love with her, obsessed with her because she's so beautiful that he wants her for his wife, or they never built a story around it enough to where it to show what her purpose was. What was his reasoning behind risking this whole giant organization that this Mandy guy had set up all these years to just throw it away for $5,000 and a girl from Cuba, that's a dime a dozen apparently in the sweatshops. None of that made any sense to me, because if he was at a party with other huge designers and stuff, people that make millions of dollars a year, why would he be risking all of that for $5,000 for a bimbo. You know what I mean? To me, I don't know. That
Yes.
to me, that part of the story was very, very weak and kind of dropped like a box of rocks to me in that part of it.
Yeah, this movie has some problems with it, and that's like one of the first ones is the character that Cara Buono plays didn't really find value in what she was bringing to the table. She was a pretty person that needed to be a maiden in distress.
And it would have played well though if they had the story around the reason that he took this one specific woman. You see what I mean? But they didn't. There was no character development or any purpose. You know what I mean? There was the only purpose there really was their friend Nacho, which you could tell because of the way that they did it at the beginning. They had a long term relationship with this man. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yeah.
the fact
Nacho
that
is important.
yeah, he seemed very important to Sonny and Pepper. So to me, the reason why they went looking for him wasn't a problem. I didn't wasn't unbelievable to me. The fact that this guy took her for $5,000, it was stupid. And the fact that Pepper took all of Sonny's, you know, guns and things that he had won or bought or whatever. We don't know for sure how he got those things, the collectibles, but they were probably just him collecting them because he thought they were interesting weapons, you know, old weapons that had to do with, you know, Old South and things like that. Him having to take those and hawk them to get the money to try to pay, but yet he still killed him. So to me, that made him more of a psychopath than basically. You know who he reminded me of? The movie The Mask. Remember the bad guy in The Mask
Mm-hmm.
that ends up putting the mask on and having to the other mask and having to compete with Jim Carrey wearing his mask, and one's evil and one's like a cornball, you know, goofball. That actor that played the psycho that wanted that was wanting to his boss or whatever was running that beautiful club, and that one beautiful blonde was a singer there, and he was tormenting her and all that stuff. It was a lot. The Mask seemed like it took from this story and used that same type of premise in their story around the distressed maiden, like you were saying. So that to me was kind of lackluster in my point of view. But the line where somebody said something about you guys are real cowboys or whatever, and that's when they said something. I think it was Woody Harrelson that said there aren't any real cowboys in Texas. They're all in New Mexico. Now, a lot of people laughed about it because they said that was stupid or a stupid line, but really it wasn't. If you get into rodeoing, you know, people that rodeo for a life, you know, because that's what they like. It's usually really young, high school, and you know, college. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, because I saw my thing look like it was about to go out, my connection. Uh, they would say the same thing because it was always like people from Oklahoma are real cowboys. People from Texas are
Mm-hmm.
real cowboys. People from New Mexico are the real cowboys. People from Arkansas are the real cowboys. You know what I mean? All the different states were always competing against each other. Who's going to be the best rodeo? You know, and then you have Utah. You have Nevada. You have cowboys all.
All up and down the western seaboard. Are you back? Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's okay.
It's-
As long as you can keep coming back.
But I don't know where I dropped out at. I bored the internet to death.
You were just discussing
Where real cowboys were from.
yeah, where the rural cowboys are from over here. And once you get in Texas, you realize there's like a lot of places where they're from, not just Texas.
Yeah, because they are. I mean, the only way you know that is when you're competing and things like that. Because like I said, in Utah, Nevada, Wyoming, all those states all have cowboys, and they all know how to rope cows, shoot, and some of them shoe horses and for a living. And you got guys that cook for all the people out on the prairie that are actually, you know, running steers or whatever. I mean, wild broncos or whatever. There's still real cowboys out there. They're just a dying breed. There's just not as many, and that's why a person that shoes horses for a living can make really good money now because you there's just not very many of them. The art is dying out. People that raise thoroughbred horses to race in horse racing and things like that. They have to have someone that's good at what they do, and it's getting harder and harder to find people that can actually do that. So it's just not a livelihood for a lot of people anymore in the
No, it's not.
industry of.
It's kind of like the running theme that we've had in a lot of our
But the whole
movies where
story around the sweatshops, that to me was very believable because they still have them. They
Mhm.
still have them now. Am I gone again?
Nope, you're here. You hear me? Janet? Janet? Hello, Janet? Hopefully she doesn't drop. Okay. So people in the chat, did you guys watch this movie? Have you watched it recently? I'll just go over some things with you about the Cowboy Way. The Cowboy Way was a story written by Robert C. Thompson and William Whitcliffe, directed by Greg Champion, and stars Woody Harrelson, Kiefer Sutherland, and Dylan McDermott, which it also has Ernie Hudson, Cara Buono, and Marge Hellenberger, who I've always appreciated as a viewer. This movie had a bunch of things kind of go wrong with it during filming, and they almost had a character played by Dennis Quaid. I don't know if that would have worked out or too well. There she is.
This really stinks.
You said that you were having trouble with. Are you? You're not at your home though, are you?
Oh, I'm in Texas.
Yep, that's right. And not everywhere in Texas is equal.
Nope. Sorry. Nowhere's equal in any state, I don't think.
No.
But,
No. This movie was supposed to have, at one point, Dennis Quaid in the Kiefer Sutherland role. Which
yes.
I don't know if I would have enjoyed Kiefer Sutherland being absent and Dennis Quaid being in it, interacting with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. I don't know. And another thing that I didn't really notice that much from the first time I saw it, but this time when I watched it, it kind of got annoying seeing Sonny wear that heavy coat all the time.
Yeah.
Did it bother you?
Say again?
Did it bother you to see Sonny wear that heavy coat?
No, not really. But he seemed to. That was just part of his character. Kind of like Han Solo in a black vest with a white shirt.
Yes. I just thought it was interesting because nobody else was wearing winter coats.
No, and this movie was made in like the fall, so it would have been the right temperature when they were filming, but still, that's quite a bit of coat. I A movie starts up and he's with Pepper's with the rodeo queen playing Big Chief, wanting her to put her wig on. And I wasn't certain if I was really enjoying that part of the film. I did when I was in the Navy because that's just kind of what you do. You exist. I need to get laid again soon. When you're 19, that's one of your primary functions for waking up in the morning. Uh, it seemed like it was kind of rushed, and then all of a sudden they're driving to New York, and they make a big deal about Woody riding in the back of the truck because he's offended Sonny. About a minute later, they're a few states away, and Sonny says, "You can go on ahead, just don't talk to me while you're up here." And they have some good bonding moments where you can tell that this is where they wanted to show off their friendship. And the script wasn't as heavy as it needed to be for this part. It could have been a lot better. But you probably already got that from Janet's dissertation. I do apologize about Janet's coming and going. She will try to get in here and stay in here. There she is. There she is.
I don't know. It doesn't look like there's any storm.
Any what? Please don't drop again. Hello? You there? Janet?
I'm sorry, Bruce.
You're good?
I don't know why.
We'll get through
my
this.
internet is so crappy.
It's not your fault. You didn't wire it. I know you didn't wire this. This is somebody else's mistake, and you and I get to suffer for it. I apologize to my viewers, but if you guys like Janet as much as I do, you will put up with it because that means that we get you. We get Janet to discuss the things that she enjoys about this movie, or not. The trip from New Mexico to New York City takes place over the course of like 45 seconds. And it's one of the worst trips I've seen in a movie. Yeah, it's probably the worst road trip I've seen in a movie. Because they could have turned that entire film into just a road trip. And then the final 20 minutes be the chase through the subway, and we finish off Dylan McDermott, and that's the movie. They don't do that with this movie. What they do with this movie is they butcher it, and the script kind of shows because there's a lot of parts where previous editions of the script were kept into the final, and it just happens. This movie doesn't have a really good motivating factor. It's like the girl is kidnapped, but now she not only kidnapped, now she's being like viewed as a baby machine for Dylan McDermott's character, which he plays a very slimy character. And if you want to have a bad guy in the 1990s, having him dress up like Dylan McDermott and look like Dylan McDermott is a good idea because Dylan looked like he was a slime ball. I really was getting into that when I first watched it, but I watched it again yesterday, 28 years away from me enjoying the movie the first time, 27 years away, and I wasn't really enjoying it. And the problem isn't even Dylan McDermott or Kiefer or Woody. The problem for me was what they did with Ernie Hudson. And he plays one of the pivotal roles in this movie. But me and Janet were talking, and this movie's about Pepper and Sonny just getting their friend's daughter back. Everybody they bump into is a tool for narrative convenience. And they don't do a whole lot of discussing why certain things have to happen, but everybody they come across means something. So this, so this can happen. So everybody else is just a facilitator. Everybody else in their life is there for only the reason that Pepper and Sonny need their help. And my main problem with this movie is that, and it's compounded by probably one of my favorite actors of the 80s, Ernie Hudson, who he's in this movie, and he's in this movie for quite a bit of it. He's got 10 minutes of time in this movie. Not bad. Welcome back, Janet. Okay, Janet is a pretty face. You have to excuse her if she bops in and out a bit because she's in a location where the internet is not as what it should be. I can hear her in the background. Okay, we're gonna get through this film, and then we'll probably call the stream at about an hour and a half into it. If Janet can get some time in to talk, that'd be great. I'm sure she wants to. I hear you. We hear you, Janet. Can you hear us? Oh, Plano, Texas. We need to talk. Okay. So, Ernie Hudson lets them basically camp out in the middle of Central Park, which, okay, I get it. You don't know what New York really looks like. And they do a Central Park scene, but it doesn't look really authentic. And then he hears them out and he starts to help them. And then there's a moment when they really enlist his help towards the third act of the film. And here comes Ernie Hudson. He lets them run a truck into the front of a club. I don't know. Can I show this? Let's try showing this. Because this movie really pissed me off. So, okay. Yep. Okay. I believe it's right around here. Yeah, right about here. This movie gets really ridiculous because they decide after they rescue, or before they rescue Sonny, because Sonny has fallen in with these schlups. You have Ernie Hudson, which is going to let Pepper drive a truck into the front of this club. With a mounted cop from NYC, this happens. Okay. Now that I've made my point, I try not to be completely irritated at the film, but I was just pissed because I thought, I don't think I remember that level of ballsiness being exhibited where a cop would just let you run your vehicle into the front marquee of a club, doing thousands of dollars of damage, maybe injuries too. And you go in rootin' and tootin', grab your buddy, and then they grab Louise Guzman. Janet says she's sorry about the internet. We're going to just do a quick message to her. It's okay. I understand. You don't have to worry. And I will say that when Janet does, there she is. When Janet has a more secure, when she has a much more secure internet connection, I want to hear her rant about this film. Are you there? The internet. See, can you hear us, Janet? She's gonna be bopping in and out. So I'll get back to what I was saying here. If Janet starts to talk, I'll shut up. I'll be happy to shut up and let her talk. Ernie Hudson takes these guys back to Central Park, where they introduce Louise Guzman's character to a little baby calf. Yep, we pried him off the mama. And Guzman gets tied up, and he's like, what are you going to do with that? This. And they de-pants him. And he's not wearing any underwear, so obviously they get a small dick joke in there. Which it's a 1994 movie. This is what we do. And the small dick joke goes off pretty well. The audience laughed when I was there watching it. Now, we watched this at a dollar cinema. The movie had been out for a bit. And when I was there, it was probably half full. I remember there was only one or two movies I saw in 94 that were completely full at the dollar cinema in the mid-afternoon on Saturday. This is not one of those movies. So we watch it, and the audience laughed, or whoever was there with us laughed, because they make a small dick joke at Louise Guzman's expense. And then the calf gets introduced to his penis, and the calf thinks that his penis is a nipple that he can get sustenance from because he's a calf, and that's what calves do. This calf, by the way, the ADR in this scene is really good. So I will say there are some really good parts of this movie, and some scenes of this movie work out really well. However, this is a movie that they have a cop with them. The cop is helping them perform an interrogation to find out where their friend's illegal daughter is being held. What's going on with her? So a cop is okay with interrogation of Louise Guzman by using a calf to suckle on his Peter. And I'm not certain exactly how you, the audience member, are supposed to react. When I saw it in 94, it was groundbreaking. Or as Rich Evans would say, they broke new ground! Okay. It was funny in 94. But watching this in 22, I'm thinking to myself, man, I really don't know. I really don't know if they can pull this off. Please, gods of the internet, bring her back. Janet? I believe her internet. Oh, I hear. We hear you, Janet. Which is really weird because we were doing this before we went live. She was able to hold a conversation. And it's not like this is something that she should be stressing her hardware out. All she's doing is doing a server run to my PC with StreamYards, and it shouldn't be that taxing. Janet, I don't know if you're there or not, but we can hear you fiddling with your PC. So the very end of this movie, after we have the interrogation scene, is a chase. And they do everything in this movie to have, from having a low-speed car chase through packed streets of New York, to they have a couple horses that are conveniently there. Again, this movie is a script of convenience. Everything is there. Yeah, I don't hear her either. I just heard myself when I listen in on YouTube. Thank you, Vanessa. When I was watching this movie, I kind of felt bad because I'm ripping it open, and I didn't really enjoy it. I rate this movie a 6 out of 10 because there's some scenes that are funny, like the interaction, every interaction with Marg Helgenberger, whatever her name is, the attractive lady from NCIS. Now you guys would call her a gilf, and there's no change in that status for her. For me, she's beautiful. She does a wonderful job in this movie. She's one of the few actors in this film that she really stands kind of on her own. And like Janet was saying, this movie in '94, we have Marg's character, who she is an independent person. Yeah, I don't know why she's getting booted. I think her net is not secure or stable enough to maintain a connection. And I don't understand that, because we had a connection for 7 minutes and I went live, or 7 to 17 minutes. We talked for a little bit, and I'm like, we're losing good content between the two of us. I would like to share this with our friends. But Marg Helgenberger, there's a scene where she throws her card in and sit down Woody Harrelson's shirt, and most women would love to just play with the man candy of Woody Harrelson in 1994. That was a guy that could get women ready to go. And in this movie, he does a hell of a job being a cute little irresponsible rake, and he does a fantastic job at that. Kiefer Sutherland does not have the charisma to do what Woody Harrelson does in this movie. So they obviously played to their strengths, and Kiefer was kind of like a father figure more than anything else, because he had progressed, he had advanced in his years, and he's no longer in high school. But yet Woody Harrelson keeps acting like he is, and for the sake of this movie, that will work. But if you're writing a script, you don't want that to be your character's sole contribution to the story. So everything that happens to Woody Harrelson is something that it's just another opportunity to use another person in their travels. This movie plays out like a two-person sit-down tabletop RPG game, because you have two guys that are bouncing ideas off each other, and they are working everything that comes across their path to their benefit, and they're making their charisma checks, so they're making their wit saves. Kiefer Sutherland is not a good fighter, and they do show that he is not the world's best fighter. He does get a few good hits in, but it's choreographed, of course. This is not the movie The Raid Redemption. And he gets captured at one scene, which sets up for the entire, we're going to take this truck through the front of the building. And that scene there kind of fell apart for me, that entire portion of it. And the two players use Marg Helgenberger to get money and resources for them to buy their guns back, to buy their belt buckle back, to get all the things back that they expended getting to their goal for this story, which is the young lady from Cuba is now safe and with them at the end of it. This is a movie that I found really weird because back when I first saw it, I really enjoyed it. And now that I'm a more seasoned, worldly wise individual, watching this movie again, I don't have the same love for it that I did. And I don't want to say something along the effects of when I was a child, I did childish things, but when I was a man, I put away my childish toys. I don't want to say that. This movie, however, makes me revisit that because it is a film that relies too many instances on plot convenience. Let me text her real quick. She says, I have no idea what's going on. I'm very sorry, which we accept. And I'm going to wrap it up in a few. Vanessa says it wasn't my favorite movie. Vanessa Vaughn, one of the sassiest women I know on my IG. And for those of you that like to subscribe to Pretty People, I'll just put Vanessa's YouTube link here in the chat because Vanessa's great. Okay, I'll have to figure out how to find Vanessa on here because here we go. Beautiful, awesome. Other person that if you guys like a really good, very fun person being on your feed for the internet, I would say Vanessa Vaughn is definitely possibly one of the people that could help you waste a few minutes every day when she uploads. She puts together really good videos. She's funny. You'll like her. And I'm not trying to say that in the same way that you'll like She-Hulk, but Vanessa is actually a very realistic individual. Okay. I'm going to wrap up this film. We're having tech issues over here, and I'm supposed to have a co-host, but she's having a lot of problems tonight with her internet. So I just want to say, oh, hello, Shadow and Sun. I just want to say that the Cowboy Way, no matter how much I tried to enjoy this movie, there's about 5 minutes of film in 90 minutes or an hour and 40 minutes that I really enjoy. And other than that, I don't. The final scene, if you know how the subways are laid out, if you know how all of New York is kind of spread apart, if you know how this movie is a very good Hollywood film, it is a very poor rendition of what would go on in New York, either in 1994 or in 2022, because it's a movie. And secondly, the city's not laid out that way. And if you try to do the same chase scene the way they did, this movie, you would not end up where you ended up. I'll just say that aloud. And worse yet, the final portion of it, they get one last laugh at Woody Harrelson because he sells his soul to Marg Helgenberger, and she lets him do a couple shoots for Calvin Klein. And that's how he's able to buy back all the things that Sonny had sold. Pepper gives those back to him before they take off, and they ride off in the sunset. My problem with this film is the fact that they could have gone in a lot more directions and made it more enjoyable for the viewer. Not even talking about repeat viewing. That's not the goal. The goal is the first time you watch it, enjoy it. But this movie doesn't do that, and it fails on so many aspects of plot contrivances and coincidence, and just go with it because this guy has charisma. The fact that everybody around them facilitates completely everything they need to accomplish with very little trade-off or trade in resources. It is a movie that it does not deserve the 5.9 it has on IMDb. It probably would be a better 4. Janet didn't enjoy this movie that much. I did not enjoy this movie that much. As now I'm at the end of my stream. Janet is furious at her internet where she's at. She'll be fine. We'll be fine. Next Monday, we're going to come back here and discuss the movie Real Men. Yeah, I said it. We're going to watch the movie Real Men, Shadow and Sun. So, everybody get ready for that film. I'm going to get ready for that because I've heard it's so good. And I hope it doesn't disappoint me like this one did, because I'm going to tell you right now that the next 2 films that are my picks, Real Men and 1994, for The Forgiveness, because this movie pissed me off. I'm going to rewatch The Crow from 1994 3 weeks from now. That'll be my pick for then. But Real Men is next week. Shadow and Sun's like, ha 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 ha, awesome. Don't hate me if it's corny. Because Shadow and Sun talks really loud and he's fun like that. Everybody, have a great night. We're going to be very well. I want to get a conversation in with Janet, make sure she's doing well. It's the internet, folks. Sometimes it works for you the way it's supposed to. And other times, well, this is why we have IT people. Yeah, the Multi-Gunman, The Crow is really good. Yes. The Crow is so freaking amazing. That was my favorite movie for probably 5 years until I sat down and really analyzed the movie Big Trouble in Little China. But The Crow was it. The Crow is the only movie I have on VHS right now. I'm just going to say that. All right. Everybody here, I didn't get a lot of things painted, but everybody in the YouTube land, and for our other affiliates that watch me there and watch us there, please check us out. Love to see you again next week. Thank you so much.